If you talk about bats, it doesn't take long to come up with vampires, but of the approximately 1,460 species, there are only 3 species that drink blood. These 3 species all live in Central and South America, although there are also species that are specialized on fish or small vertebrates or even purely vegan, only on fruits. 75% of the bats feed on insects. Only the 3 species belonging to the vampire bats drink blood. However, they probably have nothing to do with the vampire myth. The word vampire comes from the Serbian language, and stories about blood-drinking creatures were also told in the Balkan region. But these could transform not only into bats but also into owls or wolves, depending on the myth. It was only when vampire bats were discovered that the parallel was drawn and the animals were given their name. The vampire bats include the common vampire bat, the white-winged vampire bat, and the hairy-legged vampire bat. In order not to starve, they need a blood meal at least every 3 days, either from a prey animal or by regurgitating from a conspecific of the approximately 100 individuals' large groups. An animal drinks 20 to 30 milliliters of blood per meal and stuns the skin of its victims with its saliva. It then bites the skin with its fangs and sucks out the blood. The saliva also contains an anticoagulant to prevent the blood from hardening when drinking. The anticoagulant enzyme in the saliva of the common vampire was only isolated and biotechnologically produced a few years ago. It is primarily used as a drug to prevent heart attacks and strokes. The amount of blood lost by the victims of the bats is less of a problem than possible infections and inflammations caused by the open wound. How this particular form of nutrition came about is not yet fully understood in evolutionary terms, but there are 2 hypotheses. The first hypothesis is that vampire bats evolved from fruit-eating ancestors. The specially shaped incisors and canines were initially an adaptation to biting hard-shelled fruit. The second hypothesis is that vampire bats evolved from insectivorous ancestors that specialized on blood-drinking animals, like mosquitoes. It is possible that the wounds inflicted by the insects on their hosts attracted these ancestors, and their body adapted to the consumption of blood.